I'm probably going to break the internet by saying this because I feel like the whole manifestation community isn't ready to hear what I'm about to say. And that's basically that the only thing that matters is love. Love is the ultimate reality. And even Neville says exactly that. And that reminded me a lot of the things I used to listen to, the lectures from Abraham Hicks. Because I feel like there's so much resistance, like, from the law of assumption community when we talk about law of attraction, because we feel like, oh, like, it's so toxic positivity, right? Like, everyone there, they're always so high vibes and it's so annoying and all this. But I feel like a lot of people in the law of attraction community are living more fulfilled lives in a way. Now, in my opinion, is it the most efficient way to manifest? In my opinion, no, because when I started to practice Neville, when I started to really understand that it was my consciousness creating, I became so much more powerful when it come to manifestation and really calling things into my life experience. But I do think that emotionally, I was happier in practicing law of attraction style manifestation. And I almost noticed, like, over the years of me practicing law of assumption and just hearing what people had to say on YouTube, I was almost becoming numb. Like, I couldn't really feel any kind of feelings. I was just, doing all these techniques. But it wasn't until recently that I started to think about an experience I went through a couple years back. It was the experience of one of my family members transitioning from physical to non-physical, right? And that was a very traumatic experience for myself and for my and for my family, just the way that experience unfolded. But it was that experience that really transcended my understanding of manifestation. This experience basically birthed a huge desire in me to understand why I was here, to understand the purpose of this existence and the meaning of death, the meaning of life, right? What it really meant to not only create a reality, but how death played into manifestation. Because I was like, okay, a lot of people, like, they just completely are, like, so focused on getting these things, but I'm like, what happens after this life, right? And that was such a huge question for me. I had such a longing to understand the meaning of everything. It was this question, it was this pursuit to find these answers that actually awakened me even more deeper into what really mattered, to understanding the illusion of separation that we all are basically taught, that we're separate from everything, that the world is separate from us, and that we have no control over our circumstances and the things that happen to us in this life. It was this painful experience that I went through that woke me the fuck up even more. And for a moment, I was like, I don't care about really manifesting anything. I just want to know why I'm here. And over time, the answer that I've come to is the only thing that matters really is one thing, and that's love. But I like to say it's two things. It's love, and it's also creation. Those are really the two reasons, in my opinion, that we come into this physical existence on Earth, right? In this human experience. It's those two things, creation and love. And creation is an extension of love. Creation is an extension of I am. I am is expressing its own love through creation. I started to understand that it really wasn't the things I was chasing. It was the feeling that I thought these things would give me. And, Abraham Hicks talks a lot about that. She says, the only reason why you desire something is because you feel like in the having of it and the attainment of it and receiving the physical thing, the manifestation, right, you'll feel better. And it was understanding that my manifestations don't make me who I am. Yes, as I am, they are extensions of love. You know, God created the world and he saw that he was good, or whatever the Bible verse is. Don't quote me on it. But yeah, something along those lines. And that's basically what we do, you know, is we create something. We find fulfillment in that creation. We find joy in that, right? But really it's, you know, we're using creation as a medium to express the love of God. Love is the ultimate expression of I am. We have free will to create anything in this life, right? To embody any state of consciousness. Some people create what we would call really horrible things. You know, some people choose to focus their awareness on lack, on poverty, on disease, on famine, on whatever. Even the things that we perceive as negative in this life come from I am. Nothing exists outside of God. And I can't sit here in this video and I can't explain why things happen the way they happen, why things unfold the way they do, why certain people come in this life and choose to unconsciously or consciously create what we perceive as negative things in this life, or why people even come in this life and they don't even choose to really remember themselves as God. But if you're watching this video, you obviously have, and you're here for this purpose of remembering yourself as God. I can't sit here and tell you I have the answers to any of these questions because I am limited to my own perspective and awareness playing this character as Justin, right? But what I do know is that everything is an extension of God. States of consciousness, physical things, right? People, places, whatever. But at the end of the day, the ultimate truth is love. The closer we get to love, the closer we get to this highest expression. I feel like that's what the law of assumption community needs to hear, that it's okay to be positive. You know, no, it's not necessarily your positive emotions that are creating. It's not your negative emotions that are creating. It's your awareness. It's your consciousness. But like, why are we even doing this in the first place, you guys? Like, most of us, 99.9% of us, are doing this to chase things. Because we feel like, okay, if I have this thing, again, if I have this money, this relationship, whatever it is, that I will be happier with it in my life. But that's just an illusion because you're already whole and complete as you are. And it's an illusion that you need things outside of you to bring you fulfillment. Because the true fulfillment comes from God. True fulfillment comes from within. It was having a conflict with my SP a few days ago. I don't know if you've ever been in a fight and you said something you didn't mean to say. But when you say something or you do something and you just have that yucky fucking feeling inside of you, that emotional indicator is basically God, source, whatever, saying that, hey, how you're perceiving the situation, the circumstance, this person, whatever it is, how you're viewing that, how you're looking at that, that's just an illusion. That's not truly how your higher self, I am, that's not how they perceive the situation. And so on, it's not your feelings that manifest. Your feelings are important in the process of conscious creation because they are an indication of, hey, this belief, this perception isn't serving you. It really isn't the fundamental truth of who you are. And honestly, I think this is the sweet spot that blends law of attraction and law of assumption. Because it's understanding that you don't need to be high vibe, you don't need to vibrate at a frequency all the fucking time to manifest. You don't need to be afraid of your emotions or your thoughts, right? But let's use our emotional guidance system in order to live more fulfilled lives, because that's really the whole reason why we are here, is to know ourselves as God. And sometimes we need to go through traumatic experiences. Sometimes we need to use things as an excuse, as a permission slip to know ourselves as God. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's levels to this shit. There's levels to knowing yourself as God. And every day, every moment, you are shifting levels. You might be up a level. You might really know yourself as God one day. And then something happens in 3D and that kind of knocks you off. So we always have a choice. We can choose to use these experiences to keep identifying, to perpetuate the identification of victimhood consciousness, right? To keep saying, oh, well, shitty things in life just happen to me and I have no control over it, and that's just how life is, and that's how it's always been. Or we can use these experiences to get closer to the ultimate truth, that we are the creator of our own realities, that we are love at the end of it all. And the more we stray away from that love, from that contentment, from that peace, from that exhilaration and that joy, the worse we feel. We have free will to select any state of consciousness, to embody any experience, to really manifest anything into our lives. But the more we allow ourselves to really step back into pure love the best we can, to gravitate towards those positive emotions, the closer we do get to God, the quicker it really is easier to manifest things into our life. Because that is really the default state of the universe, of I am, is love. And you can feel how far away you are from that ultimate expression of I am, which is love. The further you are away from that love, the more disconnect you feel from source. And so there can be a balance in the law of assumption and the law of attraction. And I'm starting to practice that balance, because I don't want to sacrifice my happiness for the sake of material things. I don't want to wait until I have the things in my 3D physical reality in order to feel happy. I can feel the happiness now. I can feel the abundance now. And the whole reason why I want this is because I feel like, okay, this piece of paper, this number in my bank account will make me feel the way I want to feel, which is abundance, which is rich, right? Which is wealthy, which is limitless. I want the relationship because I want to feel loved. I want to feel deserving. I want to feel worthy, right? But I don't need these experiences to be right here in front of my face. I don't need these manifestations to be perceivable with my senses in order to feel that. Isn't that the way, like, everyone else, all the NPCs, the people who don't practice conscious manifestation, isn't that how they're living their life? The whole point of what Jesus was trying to say is go within consciousness first and give yourself the experience first. And then that will only be reflected in your life. There's so much resistance towards feeling good in this community, in the law of assumption community specifically. Maybe some of us are so burnt out from the law of attraction that when we discover law of assumption, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to really feel anything. And it's true, you don't necessarily have to feel anything other than the feeling that it is done, that it's already here, that it's already fulfilled, right? But really, at the end of the day, all we want to feel is happiness, is contentment, is joy. So it's just really remembering that God is trying to express its love through creation, right? And the more we tap into that love, the more we get closer to the source of everything, the default state of consciousness, which is love. Then everything else will just be a byproduct of that love. Everything else is created out of that love. And really, that's the only thing that matters, because we can't take any of these manifestations with us when we die anyway. It's not like we have a big U-Haul that we can just take into non-physical and enjoy our manifestations there. So it really just matters, how deeply did you love in this life? How kind were you to people? How much did you know yourself as God? And that's what I'm focusing on. And that's what I encourage all of you to focus on. And trust me, guys, when you do, everything else will fall into place. So like I said, really the only thing that matters in this life is two things: love and creation. And creation is an expression of love, and love is the ultimate expression of God. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.